Greetings RC fans, Moodog from Moodog's Frugal RCs. Today we're going to be doing a teardown of the FY-15 clone, and this will apply to the original as well, the FY-15. We're going to take this thing apart, see what makes it tick. This will kind of give you some pointers on how to disassemble your unit should you need to get in there to service anything or replace a part. So let's get going on this. First thing we're going to do is remove the body clips, and then just this one here. Alright, set that aside, remove the body, get that out of the way. First thing we're going to need to do with this, guys, is remove all four of the wheels. We can do that with a Phillips screwdriver. Alright, now that we've got the tires out of the way, it's going to be easier to disassemble this unit and see what makes it tick on the inside. Again, just you can use your own discretion on how you want to do these things. If you don't need to replace a certain part, leave it intact and take it off in kind of sub-assemblies is what I call it. So a small needle nose pliers, or if you guys have a tool specifically for this, you can use that as well. But there are no screws on here, so gently grab the eyelet just above it and rock it back and forth or side to side. Gently but firmly, you don't want to break these things. Okay, so that's out of the way. Same thing on this side. Oops. And that one's out of the way. So now the next thing we're going to do is go underneath. And there is no necessary order to do this, but this is the way I'm doing it. 2 Phillips screws on the bottom here. We'll get those out. I'll just set them on the table next to me because I'm going to put them back in the original holes to retain them. Good idea to do this, guys, if you're not familiar working on, especially if you're working on this thing the first time. I like to kind of replace the screws as I go, and this whole assembly would just come out. One more screw on the top here. You can see right. I'll try to zoom this in a little bit here so you guys can see this. But there is a screw right here. And that one comes out as well. So we'll go ahead and remove that. And we can leave that one intact. And on the bottom here, we'll flip this back over again, guys, and then put our screws back in here. It just makes life a little easier when you're for the first time you're disassembling your car. So we'll go ahead and pop these right back in. And we don't have to torque them down, just get them in there a couple of threads so they stay put when we're moving this unit around. Just enough so they stay in place. You don't have to torque these down to the moon. You just want to make sure they're staying where you put them. We're going to be moving this around a little bit. So these shocks are actually keywayed on, you can see here. And I went ahead and removed them. Probably didn't need to, but they key on the top and then just pop on the bottom. So pretty easy to remove them. You just follow the key. You see a little keyway on there. And here's the shock mount itself, little tab. So I will show you guys that right here. Next thing we're going to do, guys, is remove these upper and lower A arms. The tops are all, it's going to be all Phillips screws on this, so pretty easy to do. And I'll zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing here. But we can see that we have Phillips screws up on top here that act as pins. So we'll go ahead and remove both of these. Again, we have small kind of dowels. And these little dowels are the pins that hold that A arm in place and allow it to pivot. And then the last about 1/8 of an inch or so of this is going to be threaded. So we'll go ahead and we'll set those in our parts tray over here. Same thing on this side. Okay, now these will fall free. And the next thing we're going to do is remove the bottom A arms. And this whole thing should come off in one sub-assembly. So there's 2 screws on the bottom here, 2 guys, one here and one there. Let's go ahead and get these out. Same idea. You'll notice that the bottom ones are longer than the top. See this here, I'll show you. The The bottom one is going to be in my right hand, top one in my left. So bottom and top. I'm going to make sure they're going in the right holes. Not a big deal. You'll be able to figure that out pretty easily once you start reassembling this. So we'll get that out of the way, and that will allow our CVD to fall out, and we can go ahead and set that aside as well. And we'll taking a look at this right now. It's pretty much all plastic construction, nylon ball on the inside here. We do have a set of roller bearings on the outside. So taking a look at this, this is the basic unit here for the front end on this truck. So we'll set that aside over here. So once you've got that all apart and the drive shafts pulled out, next thing we're going to do is remove the ball joint from here. Now you can remove it from the actual steering arms right here, or you can remove it from the hub knuckle right here. So we're going to remove it from the hub knuckle. Looks like an easier spot to get it apart, and it was. Use some care when doing this. Now you do have some resiliency and some flexibility in these parts, but you still have to make sure that you're using just enough force to get this apart. I recommend, guys, if you have the ball joint separator tool, to use that. If you don't, this way works as well. Just use extra care that you're not snapping this ball off of here. What we're going to do is remove this first shock tower, the shock mount here, and there's 2 screws right up in front, right here. Back is going to be the same way as the front end. We're basically just going to be removing our shock eyelets from the bottom of the A-arm. One. And remember how that was keyed on there, so we'll remove that, set that off to the side. These are both going to be the same length shock, so there is no front and rear necessarily on this particular vehicle. Same thing on this side. We'll pop this shock mount off and swing this up and line up the key and remove it. Set that off to the side. Same thing with this one too, guys. We're going to be removing this front bumper. There are 2 screws inside here. So on top here, guys, we have another screw holding this front bumper. We'll go ahead and remove this. Okay. You can see there's a difference in these screws here too, guys. I'll show you real quick. These are the 2 that came out of the front of the bumper. There's 2 of them like this, and this one here is the one that went into the top. It's got kind of a flange or flared or kind of washered almost end on it here. I got a shoulder on there to hold it. So you want to make sure that those are going in the right holes. And we can remove our front bumper. Set that off to the side here. And we're going to take our screws, and I'm actually going to put these right back where they came from. So just a good practice. Again, first time taking this thing apart, you want to make sure that you're remembering or knowing at least where these screws belong. Next thing we're going to do is remove our front, or I should say rear shock mount here. And there's 2 screws, one here, one here. We'll go ahead and get those out. Shock mount. With those out of the way, we can go ahead. With those out of the way, we can go ahead and remove our shock mount and get that set aside. Next thing we're going to do, guys, is there's 2 pins on the top here. We'll go ahead and remove those and get the upper A arms removed. And our plate, and then these will come free like so, and we'll go ahead and hit the bottoms as well. There's 2 screws, one here and one to the outside right there. And then we have our dog bones. Now the rear is going to be dog bones, but this is, it looks like it's made, it looks like it's made the same. It's all plastic. A lot of times what manufacturers will do is they'll put metal pins on either end here. We have red JST connectors up on top here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these right now, and we can also disconnect our motor from the back right here. So pull that out gently, and we should be free and clear, except for our servo. Gently rock it back and forth. Don't pull hard. You don't want to pull any of these pins out of the connector, otherwise you're going to have trouble. So we can go ahead and take our receiver ESC off now, and that is just 2 screws up front. I'll show you that real quick here, guys. We have one here and then one on the other side right there. So we'll go ahead and remove these. So if you had to replace just your receiver, you wouldn't have to go through taking all this other stuff off of here. Pretty easy to access. You would just disconnect your electrical connections here, unscrew these 2 screws up on top, pop the new one in, reconnect everything, and you're off to the races. Pretty easy to do that. So one thing I wanted to do while I have the camera going here, guys, is see if there's any conformal coating in here, to see if they went ahead and did any kind of waterproofing. There's 4 tabs on each side, 2 on this side, 2 on that side. All you would need to do, guys, is get a flat screwdriver and just pry up. So you can see on the inside here, guys, there is no waterproofing. This might be a good time to take this circuit board out, and it's just sitting in here, guys. Actually, there is 1 screw in the center here. There we go. So that's the brains of the unit right here, guys. This is your receiver and your electronic speed control all in one. There is no conformal coating on here, so this is not going to be waterproof. I have a video on how to waterproof electronics in your vehicle, and I'll post a link in the description for that if you guys want to check that out. But it's smart to do that. We'll go ahead and pop this back on here as well. Antenna goes through the hole, and then just kind of just snaps back together again. Nothing too earth-shatteringly difficult about that. So we have this front section here. We can go ahead and remove 1 screw and 2 screws right here. We had 2 screws here. Now I've got 2 more up in front here, just in the front of the differential. So we'll set this one off to the side here, and we can take a look at the inside here. We can see our differential, which is, I don't even think that, I might have to take that apart at some point, but we can see that it has a nylon gear here, and we also have ball bearings on the outside, and we have plastic outdrive cups. So this is one of those units that's bound to have to replace. But you can see that Feiyue actually put an ample amount of grease in here. I like seeing that. You don't often see that much grease used when these are being put together at the factory. We want to make sure, again, guys, that you're putting this in the right way. You don't want to oppose directions, one going one way and one going the other way, and the car's not going to roll. So you want to make sure it's going in the way it came out. Okay, we'll take this out for the time being and set it aside. I'll give that a wipe down a little bit later on as well. Center section here, guys, is going to be 2 screws. You have 1 up on top here and then 1 on the bottom. Okay, and I kept the screws right in place there. We'll set that aside. We're going to go ahead and remove our servo as well. 2 screws. Underneath this area here, guys, by the motor, I have a couple of screws that we're going to be removing. I have 2 back here and then 2 up front here. And then we have 2 screws on the front of the differential case. Right, there's our differential case, and here is our actual kind of slipper clutch, I guess you could call it. Let's get this apart here and I'll show you guys a little bit more. You can see inside here got a lot of wear. Now it's kind of odd to me that the brass would be wearing before the, I think that's just probably coloring from the brass. I don't think there's any shavings in here. It does feel a little bit gritty, so I'll be cleaning that up before we put that back together. Let's just go ahead and remove the whole motor pod. It comes off in one assembly. So we have here as well 2 more screws. We have one here and then one up on top right here. So let's go ahead and get these loosened up. But this is the motor assembly. This is a 180 size fast turn motor. Really easy to find these guys. I don't know if there's going to be any hop-ups on these, but you can see by the venting on here, that tells me that this one is going to be a little bit more powerful than most. And you can see by the run videos on here that I'll link in the description, the other 2 videos I did for this. This is a pretty fast moving little vehicle, guys. This is going to get a good cleaning before we reassemble it. There's still more stuff we could be taking apart in here. I'm not going to go through any further disassembly on here. I don't think that it's really warranted at this point, but that's pretty much the disassembly of this unit. Reassembling is basically just doing the opposite. It's not that big a deal if you take your time. If you find yourself in a rut, if you find yourself in a bind, you don't know how stuff goes back together, guys, I would highly recommend that you refer to this. Okay, you have your exploded view right here. It's going to show you how stuff goes together. Just take your time and study this. Don't be afraid. If you have to take pictures as you're going, then take pictures as you're going. No harm and no foul. So that's pretty much the video. I hope you guys liked the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. I really appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by and looking at the video. My subscribers, you guys rock. Thanks for sticking with me. More videos coming up like this, more action videos, more unboxings, more rig rundowns, stuff like that. Let me know in the comment section what you guys want to see. Do you appreciate videos like this? I've had a couple suggestions to do these. What do you guys think? You guys think it's a good idea to show a teardown on the vehicle that I feature? If that's the case, I'll go ahead and start doing that on a more regular basis. Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for stopping by. See y'all in the next one, and God bless the Republic.